Welcome back, you open-minded mutants. I'm Jeremiah Sanchez, author of the Parachute Mind series, and today we're going to discuss everyone's favorite triple-clawed, amnesia-stricken, adamant yum-yum, huge jacked man. Let's party, bub. If you don't know who Wolverine is, either because you've been living under a rock or because you've suffered your own case of amnesia, here's a quick recap. Do you remember Gaston, how he was a man's man, chugging beer like a son of a bitch, hating beast, and every last inch of him was covered in hair? Well, picture him, caveman height, hairstyled by Edward Scissorhands, behind an active jet engine, the memory of the Notebook, pissed off like he has to relive 2020 every day, dip him in metal, arm him with too many steak knives to hold, give him the mutagenic superpower of a godlike moisturizing routine, slap him into a substitute teaching position in a high school full of social outcasts, and voila! Wolverine. Alright, you're caught up, let's go. What if? What if, instead of spending his time dedicated to fighting Magneto, who is essentially a metalhead who's got his number as if he read it off a bathroom stall, Wolverine spent all of his time in the gym? As someone who spent their entire adult life in the gym, I've had to work my ass off. Uphill, in the snow, both ways, every day. Workout, rest, recover, heal. Workout, rest, recover, heal. It is incredibly time-consuming and requires constant patience and motivation to put oneself through disciplined, self-inflicted pain. I mean, at this point, I find it pleasurable because of the addiction, but details. But I mean, if you want to be healthy and look better naked and eat copious amounts of donuts and bacon with marginally less guilt, that's what you've got to do. A good average workout lasts about 1 hour a day. The other 23 are required for recovery and healing. And that's only 7 hours a week spent working out. That wastes about 161 hours every single week that could be used for getting gains if we didn't have to recover. The average bodybuilder works the same muscle group 2 to 3 times a week. So that means that rippling man boobies only get worked 2 out of every 168 hours. That's a lot of downtime. Additionally, 1/3 of our lives are spent sleeping, which is when our bodies do the majority of their healing. I mean, Wolverine sleeps too, which is technically a giant loophole in his characteristic mutation, because if he heals instantaneously, he wouldn't ever need to sleep. You know what, we're not going to address the necessary requirements for his mutation. Like, he's guaranteed circumcised because his pee-pee hoodie would just grow back immediately. Well, unless he was circumcised before puberty, before he got his mutation, would it grow back? Point is, assuming the fictional rules of Wolverine, let's say that he sleeps 1/3 of his life. That leaves him with about 112 hours of wakey daytime. So assuming he can just pound protein shakes at will, drinking them, absorbing the nutrients, and moving on, that leaves him with the upper limits of being able to work out 1,600% more than everyday bodybuilders. Obviously, that would be total insanity and far beyond the definition of unhealthy obsession. But I would, in a heartbeat, pay admission to go see a big budget, R-rated, hulked out Wolverine movie. And so would you. If you wouldn't, then you're lying, just like the people who don't pee in the shower. And obviously, before we go any further, I know what you're going to say. What about the myostatin concern? I'm going to address it. Oh, do you not know what myostatin is? Well, let me explain it to you since I barely understand it. I looked it up for this video. Myostatin essentially regulates how big and strong our muscles can get, like their absolute upper limits. Because if they were just allowed to grow rampantly without being kept in check, our muscles would grow so big and so strong, or at least would be able to, that our bones would snap under the mere pressure and tension. That's scary and also really cool. For example, I'm sure you've seen those scary monster steroid cows, the ones that tipping seems utterly ridiculous. Well, they have myostatin deficiencies. Trust me, you don't want beef with them. I'll show myself out. But since Wolverine's bones are coated in adamantium, it's safe to say we can give him all the myostatin blocking drugs and his bones will be just fine. And while we're at it, since this is all for our entertainment, let's give him every single horse steroid we can find and see how crazy we can make this. I mean, it's not like we can kill him. Entertain us like the gladiators of Rome. But if Wolverine actually dedicated himself to the Iron Jungle, he could work out without fatiguing. He'd be making gains faster than the rest of us, and he could be getting PRs all day, The current world record deadlift at the time of this video being recorded is 501 kilograms by Hafthor Julius Bjornsson, about 1,105 pounds. That's all. But he had to prepare meticulously. He had to follow strict training regimens, rest, use specific deadlift suits, eat properly, and work his way up without injuring himself along the way. Imagine someone who heals instantaneously doing the same thing. All injuries just suddenly vanish, and that includes the tiny little muscular tears that happen every time we work out. Wolverine could do the exact same set all day long without fatiguing, kind of like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. That was a good movie. I should probably watch that again. Just toss a Camelback full of protein on him, have him puff on that in place of his cigars, and rep away, sir. Hugh Jackman would be a huger, jackeder man by nightfall. And that's just an example of strength. Imagine aesthetically. Picture how much of a lumpy cumulus cloud he could become. Imagine the balloon animal he could expand into. Imagine the anal beads his arm would look... Thank God for editing. But like I said, I would pay to go to an R-rated Hollywood hulked out Wolverine movie just tearing through bad guys. If anyone from Hollywood happens to stumble upon this little YouTuber's video, do it for me. But that's just one idea. What else would be fun to do with Wolverine's powers if you had them, for example? See how fast you could run across a river of lava? Skydive without a parachute? Sprinkle some rat poison on my steak just for a little extra kick? Instead of running from the bulls? Run at the bulls, blindfolded MMA, run with scissors. Realistically, he'd be an amazing stuntman. He could take every single hit and just keep getting up for more takes. We could do clinical testing on humans. On him? Here's a bizarre Wolverine fantasy that kind of just came to me. You know those gigantic electromagnetic cranes? Well, I'd get one of those and have it operating at full speed, spinning its magnet in a circle. And then me, as Wolverine, with my adamantium bones, will be a quarter mile away, shot out of a cannon directly at the spinning magnet, which will try to catch me before I pass by. It'll be a timing thing. Worst case scenario, I crash, I heal, we try again. But how cool would that be? But that's just my lovely little broken brain. What would you do if you had Wolverine's powers? If you could heal instantaneously, what's the craziest stunt you'd attempt? I am so excited to read other people's answers. And as always, may death not find you sleeping.